Get ready for Hosts at Home. On today's show, a man who's the perfect match for game shows. He enjoyed his time on shows like Wheel of Fortune and Entertainment Tonight. But will Bob Goen enjoy his interview on Hosts at Home? That's the question. Spoiler alert, of course he will. And now, here's your host who interviews the host, Adam Wurtzel.
Thanks, Richard Malmus. Hey, everybody. Welcome once again to Hosts at Home, the show where we chat with your favorite hosts, past and present. I'm Adam Wurtzel, and if you've read the comments on this channel, we've had a lot of, why hasn't Bob Goen been on the show yet? And when are you going to have Bob Goen on the show? Well, everybody, your questions have been answered. Here we go. Bob Goen, welcome to Hosts at Home.
All of those questions, all those requests were from me. So, yeah. No, but it's great to be here, Adam. I've enjoyed watching the show and watching your work, so it's good to be here with you.
Well, and that trick happened because we got you on the show, and I'm so happy about that. And we have a friend in common, David Ruprecht.
David is an old buddy. He is, I bet I've known David for, 35 years, something like that. And he and I are still very close. We spend a week together every year with two other guys playing golf and giggling and having cigars and a little too much fun that we can't tell our wives about. But it's fabulous, and we look forward to it every year.
Well, that sounds like a reality show waiting to happen.
Well, don't even bring a camera.
We won't do that. We'll keep the cameras here. Tell everybody where home is for you, Bob.
Home is actually home for me. It's Long Beach, California. And the reason I put it that way is because I was born and raised here in Long Beach, and then left to pursue my career and lived in Hollywood for a while in the San Fernando Valley, and then moved to Cincinnati for 7 years. And when my wife and I were done in Cincinnati, we said, well, at least I said to her, I'm going home. I'm going back to Long Beach. And we've been here for about 3 years, and it's where my soul is. It's where I belong. So I am thrilled to be part of it again.
So being from Long Beach originally, I mean, people travel from all across America, all across the world to plant their roots in Southern California. Because you were born in Southern California and you made your way to Hollywood, did you think being from Southern California gave you any sort of advantage in the business, that maybe you knew a couple things growing up?
I don't think geographically it held an advantage other than being familiar with every place, every step that I had to take to get to where I wanted to be. So, I don't know if you know this or not, but I've wanted to be a game show host since I was very small. I was 13 or so. And so I was able to be very focused and very directed on what needed to be done to get there. Didn't guarantee that I would get there, but I had a pretty good idea. So my first job in radio my first job was in radio, because that's where all the all the game show hosts came from, right? And when I was coming up anyway, Bob Barker, Jeff Edwards, and all those guys, Dick Clark. So I started in radio in Riverside, and then I was able to jump to television in Palm Springs, which is, it's about 2 hours outside of Hollywood, but it's where everybody goes. It's where all the directors and producers and agents and actors and everybody. And I thought, well, if I go there, then I'll get discovered. And that's actually how it happened. So it worked out well. So knowing the geography around here really paid off.
There you go. We just had Wink Martindale on the show. We went to his house in Palm Springs. He lives on a golf course. It is beautiful there. I want to move there.
He's a fabulous guy, and he deserves to live on a golf course. He's earned it.
So you made your way from radio to TV. Do you think, and I'm going to use the title of one of your shows, do you think it's safe to say that you were born lucky?
Yes, absolutely, because I knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. I mean, I literally, when I was 13, announced at the dinner table that I wanted to be a game show host when I grew up, and my parents had no idea what I was talking about, and didn't really know how to support that. And my mom was very artsy and kind of wished she had gotten into show business. But she got married, the war came, and had to have a family and that kind of thing. So that kind of got sidetracked. My dad, on the other hand, was very got to get, he was a child of the Depression. So he was like, you got to get a secure job. You got to get your retirement in place and all that kind of thing. Are you sure you want to do this showbiz thing? Because
game show careers don't have 401ks.
There is no security in show business. And I just knew that this was what I had to do. And I was also born lucky in that I was born with no other marketable skills. So if this hadn't worked out, I don't know what I would have been when I grew up. So I was very focused and was able to make all the decisions that would get me to this point, and it worked. So yeah, I was born lucky. Darn right I was.
Well, with all the golf experience with Ruprecht, maybe you would have been in the PGA if game shows had
There is not a chance on earth that I would be able to play in the PGA. I've played in a lot of celebrity tournaments, and I've played several what they call pro-ams that are part of PGA events. And I watch these guys play and I go, oh my God, I am so glad I realized that I was never going to be good at this game. So I wouldn't, can't live up to what they do. So what's the point?
Your first game show was in 1986, a show called Perfect Match.
It's Perfect Match. And now, here is your host, Bob Goen.
Take us back to 1986. Take us back to getting what was your dream job.
I can tell you the story. For me, it is kind of sums up how born lucky I was. I was working in Palm Springs, and I was a sportscaster in Palm Springs. So I did the 6 and 11 o'clock news, doing the football scores. And I had literally gotten a call from a game show producer, a guy named Ray Horrell, who produced Celebrity Sweepstakes and You Asked For It and shows like that, and asked me if I wanted to be a game show host. And I was like, well, of course, that's my dream. How did you know? And so he and I worked together for, I was in Palm Springs for about 4.5, 5 years. And he and I worked together for about 2 years. And he taught me how to be a game show host. And I would finish the 11 o'clock news, and I'd go to Ray's house, and we would play backgammon until about 3 o'clock in the morning and talk about game shows. And he taught me what being a host was about. So whenever he was developing a show, he would get the neighbors, in his living room to be contestants, and he would get me to be the host. And so I was able to put myself on my feet in a game show situation and learn the tricks of the trade. So that's a little backstory to the answer to your question, if I can ever eventually get to the answer. But what happened is I had done a couple of game show pilots, commuting back and forth to Hollywood. I did a pilot called Pie in the Sky for Jay Wolpert. You probably know that name. And a second pilot for Jay called Fast Friends. And they were network game show pilots. Neither of them sold. But having doing this commute to Hollywood, I would drive up there and shoot a pilot and then have to drive back to Palm Springs and do the 11 o'clock sportscast. And it was really killing me. So I thought, I've got to just throw it all in and move to Hollywood and start focusing on game shows. So I gave notice at the TV station in Palm Springs in it was November, I think. And I said, I'm going to give 6 weeks notice. First of the year, I'm going to be moving to Hollywood to pursue this game show thing. And as it turns out, I got a call from Scott Stone, who was producing a show called Perfect Match. And even better than that, excuse me a second, I had driven up to LA to do a commercial audition. And I did the audition. I drove back to Palm Springs, and I got back to Palm Springs at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. My agent called me again and said, "You're not going to believe this, but you have to drive back to town and audition for Perfect Match for Scott Stone." So I got back in the car, drove back to Hollywood, auditioned for Scott Stone, and I got the commercial and I got the game show in the same day. And I got them both before I was planning on moving to Hollywood with no job. So it couldn't have turned out better. And the Perfect Match only lasted 13 weeks, but it got me my start, got me launched, and never looked back.
Who were you channeling that first day on set at Perfect Match? Was there anybody that you were thinking, all right, Jeff Edwards, I could take a little bit of that, a little bit of Bob Eubanks, a little bit of Jack Barry, or were you just yourself?
No, I stole. I absolutely
don't
stole.
We all? Don't we all?
That's how you form yourself. You take little bits and pieces here and there. But the main thing, the main guy that I tried to focus on was Tom Kennedy. And the reason was Tom Kennedy always looked like he was having more fun than anybody on the stage. And I thought, that's why I want to do this, because it looks like such fun. But I soon came to realize as well that if I'm having fun, then the contestants are having fun. And then it just permeates the atmosphere, and everybody relaxes and their best selves come out, and it becomes just what I was watching on TV as a 13-year-old. And so I was still am a big Tom Kennedy fan. I thought he was brilliant.
I completely agree. Well, the show that resonated of yours the most with me was a show called Blackout, which you hosted after Perfect Match. Now, I've always said this show should have lasted for years. I thought the format was brilliant. Talk about your experience on Blackout.
Well, Blackout, there's a lot in that answer, because Blackout. Now, hold on, let me show you. Here, this is on my wall.
Wow. We love props on this show. That is so cool. Who's the woman?
Well, that's the thing. At the time, there was a movie called Action Jackson. And this is the poster from Action Jackson. But one of the guys, the art director on the show, turned it into the promo for Blackout. So it says, "Get going, Rambo. Watch out, Dirty Harry. Turn over, Bruce Lee. Goen's arriving." So that was, this is the only copy of this poster, and it hangs on my wall proudly. And one of the reasons is, it was the first network game show that I ever got on the air, and it again was produced by Jay Wolpert, and it was significant to me in so many ways. And Jay I can't talk about Jay without kind of getting choked up. We lost him about 6 months ago, and he was the most significant man in my career, because we did those 2 game show pilots that I told you about, Fast Friends and Pie in the Sky, and neither of them sold, and nobody had ever heard of me. Nobody knew who I was. So Jay was kind of going out on a limb to let me host and be in charge of his babies, right? Well, even though those 2 shows didn't sell, he still hired me for Blackout, and the show sold, and CBS didn't want me. And Jay said, no, Bob's the host of my show. And so Blackout was not only the first network game show that I ever did, but it was so significant in that respect. And then plus there was the other level of it was a celebrity show. So we always had 2 celebrities on every week, and it gave me a chance to interact with celebrities, and it kind of became the foundation for what I did at Entertainment Tonight later on, because by the time I got to ET, I was comfortable with celebrities because of Jay Wolpert and Blackout. I'm glad you liked that show. I know a lot of people did. It like like many Jay Wolpert shows was complicated, and it was hard for the average viewer to follow. Jay Wolpert was the smartest man I've ever known, and beyond being the funniest and the kindest, but he was the smartest man. And sometimes he got a little too smart for the rest of us. We couldn't keep up with his creativity. So I think that was one of the reasons why Blackout didn't make it. But I'm always thrilled to hear when somebody like you appreciated Blackout, because I thought it was fabulous.
Well, Bob, if you've seen Hosts at Home, on occasion we have little surprises, and we have a little surprise for you, Bob. Speaking of Blackout, so we have a special celebrity guest here to join us, and there were some great celebrities on Blackout, but this is someone who is on Blackout 25 years or 30 years. Let me make sure I get this right. 30 years to the day that this Hosts at Home is going up on YouTube. So I'm going to bring her in right now. Please welcome Eileen Graff.
Oh my God, Eileen.
Eileen Graff.
Are you really there?
There she is.
Oh my God, Eileen, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I haven't seen you since 1988, right?
Oh, stop. That's not right. That isn't right. You know what I mean?
Did our paths cross at all during ET?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
Oh God. Well, I don't care. We're catching up, and that's fabulous.
You have such a hi, Adam.
Hi, Eileen.
There's Adam too.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.
You have such one of the things I remember most about you. Number one, you're a wonderful game show facilitator, and not everybody can do that. But you have so much hosting ability, so much style, and so smooth, so smart. And that's a good thing to have in your business.
That's very kind of you. My wife always likes to tell the story that that our sister-in-law called our house, and Marianne had recorded the voicemail message. And the message that my sister-in-law left was, "What is your voice doing on there? Have Bob record it." So
you have a professional in the house. What are you doing?
Yes. That's very sweet of you. Thank you. I remember having us doing the show. So I didn't appear green to you, or scared, or deer in the headlights.
Not at all.
Oh,
not at all.
Oh,
no. I mean, and in rewatching it, I rewatched it the other day because it's been so long, and who can remember? I can't remember yesterday.
Exactly.
Smooth, Bob, smooth.
It was
really
fun.
nice.
Oh, you were so fun, and oh my God, you were such a big star. And I was like, Eileen Graff.
But what one of the best things about doing the TV series was it did give me the ability to do the game shows. And
there are so many people, so many celebrities who I don't know if they begrudgingly did game shows or enthusiastically did them, but I always felt that you were there with real enthusiasm.
I think that the TV series was merely an entry drug into
gateway drug.
It was a gateway drug. There you go. Right. into the game shows. And the first one I did was Pyramid, and Pyramid was really the only one that the celebrities had to audition for. And it was a very low-key audition process. You just sort of went to Anne Marie's apartment and played a couple of rounds of the game. But they were very smart. They did it so everybody came off well. They didn't want any of the celebrities not to look good, and they wanted the game to work well.
Right.
And what was great is once you passed that pyramid test, all the other game shows wanted you.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I can tell you what one of the great pieces of trivia about Blackout is that we replaced Pyramid on CBS, and after 13 weeks they put Pyramid back on because nobody could understand Blackout. So
Blackout was I was just telling my husband Ben, I said, as I was watching it, it was coming back to me. I didn't remember right off the top because I think I only got to do the 1 week. But as I've been thinking about it, I'm remembering now, and I'm remembering sitting there with the dynamite thing,
plunger.
The plunger.
Yeah.
And I remember Jamie Farr in the dressing room. I remember just kibitzing and hanging out with him. And I had done, I don't remember if it was Pyramid or Password with Jamie as well. So, and he was such an easy guy.
Oh, he was
he's just like a regular guy, just a guy.
Yeah.
And what fun it was to play with him. And it all came back to me that you had to try to remember what the other person said in what order so that you could make them go silent.
Exactly.
And it wasn't easy.
Yeah. By the way, Adam, if you want to go make a sandwich or something,
I'll see you guys later.
I'm going
to let you guys. I just want to say,
fine.
Just look. I don't know what moisturizer you guys use. You both look absolutely fantastic. It was 35 years ago that you did Blackout. My gosh, you look amazing.
5 years ago.
I'm gonna go make a sandwich.
Okay. It's like what he's got here is a host and someone who's done a million interviews and two people who are happy to see each other. What more do you want, right?
There we go. But it's so funny because I literally also had to go back and rewatch Blackout a few weeks
I didn't
ago.
have any deli meat. I just got some chips.
He's got snacks.
You have enough for everybody?
Yeah, that's right.
There we go.
Thank you.
Because I didn't really remember the format either, but I encourage anybody who's watching who has not seen Blackout and is a true game show fan. It's a fascinating experiment to witness, because it was complex. I think you'll agree, right? Yeah. But it was clever beyond belief. And so yeah, I would encourage anybody. It's all on YouTube. Go take a look.
Eileen, you're so funny. You're amazing. We appreciate you jumping on the
Oh
Zoom
my
today.
gosh, anytime, Bob. We'll have to catch up in person one of these days.
I would love to. I am blown away and totally honored that you agreed to join us for this.
Oh my gosh. And we've got to get you over to play some game shows, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
we'll
baby.
get that in the works.
Okay.
All right, you guys, take
All
good
the
care.
best.
Stay healthy.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Eileen.
Great
Bye.
to see you again. That's the shock of a lifetime. That is so cool, Adam.
I'm
Thank
so-
you for that.
Absolutely.
Thank
Such
you.
a nice person. Such a
She's a
person.
doll. She's a doll.
Well, that's the only. There's no more surprises. I promise. There's no more surprises. But you got quite the surprise dream gig after Blackout. We had Vanna White on our show on our first season. You worked with Vanna White. You hosted Wheel of Fortune as a fan of this genre. I mean, it's Jeopardy, Wheel, Price is Right, I think, are probably the top three sacred game shows. And you hosted one of them. What did that feel like?
It was, you talk about feeling like a deer in the headlights. I mean, as a host, I think I was ready. It obviously worked okay, and Merv Griffin was, impressed enough that he would hire me to take the reins of that sacred show. But nevertheless, that was a real pinch yourself kind of a thing. That was, to walk out on that stage next to Vanna and spin that wheel. It was, that's when I felt like, okay, I think I belong here. I think this is a career that I can sustain. And up until then, it was kind of grab a job here, grab a job there, 13 weeks and gone. And that was the first job, the first game show that I ever did that lasted longer than 13 weeks with me at the helm. So it was it was really a dream scenario. And I'll tell you what else. It was, up until that point, I told you about my dad being get a secure job, get into business and all that. Well, it wasn't until Wheel of Fortune that he finally bought into the fact that this is what I was going to do for a living. And I got him a Wheel of Fortune trucker's hat. And he didn't take that thing off for the 2-year run of the show. And it was at that point that I realized, you know what, I did. I'm doing okay. Dad's comfortable now. He can relax, and it's all good. So yeah, Wheel was huge for me, and I'll always be grateful to Merv Griffin for going out on a limb with me.
And I think so. Wheel taped also in Studio 33 at Television City. So is that now twice in a row that you're in Bob Barker's dressing room on 2 different shows?
Yep. And we were on stage 33, but the reason I got the daytime version of Wheel is because Pat Sajak, who had been doing it, got this talk show on CBS at night, going up against Johnny Carson. So one show, I think it may have been my first show, he came down and brought live cameras taping for his show onto the set of Wheel to kind of surprise me and jump me. And it was a great moment, and it kind of validated that he was giving me the thumbs up that, okay, you can do this. You're in charge now. I trust you. It was great.
I've always wondered, and I don't know if you know or have insight into this, how did producers determine which contestants would go on the daytime version versus the nighttime version? Did any contestants show up and go, wait, where's Pat?
Well, no, what they did was they showed up and they said, why are we playing for a Hugo and instead of a Chevy Monte Carlo? That's what they were talking about. I don't know what the process was, who got, if they auditioned for the 2 different shows or if they just auditioned for Wheel and were placed into one of the shows. I don't know how that worked. I wasn't privy to that, and I was just trying to keep my head above water as a host, so I wasn't asking those kinds of questions.
Well, I want to put 2 pictures up on the screen because something changed between Blackout and Wheel of Fortune. You got rid of the stash. The mustache was gone. Yep. Why'd you get rid of the mustache?
Well, what I like to say is that I grew the mustache so that I wouldn't look like Dick Clark, because I got compared to Dick Clark a lot. And then I say that I shaved it off because I didn't want to look like B. Arthur. But
when I see you, I see Maude. I just
exactly. But the truth of the matter is that I in between, after Blackout, I was looking for work, and I went in for an audition for the spokesperson for Sears, and it was a big national campaign, big saturation campaign that they were going to go crazy with. And I went in and auditioned for this, and they said, we like you, we want you to do this, but you have to shave the mustache. And so I had the mustache for, I don't know, 10, 12 years. And I didn't know what I looked like under there. So the night before I was going to shoot, we shot it in Chicago. And the night before, in my hotel room, I shaved the mustache off and saw myself for the first time. I didn't know I had an upper lip. And if you go back and watch those commercials, you can see that I'm uncomfortable with my upper lip. It's a whole, I don't know if you've ever grown facial hair, but it changes you a little bit. And you're kind of talking like that, it's just different. And I can go back and see those commercials and see that I was not totally comfortable with my upper lip. It was weird, but one thing led to another, and it got me a job. So what the hell?
Well, we can't interview you, Bob, without talking about Entertainment Tonight. Wheel of Fortune is certainly quite the career builder of a game show, and just a few years later you get ET. How'd that happen?
I had a very creative and aggressive agent, a guy named Sean Perry, who
was that Jim Perry's son?
Jim Perry's son. Yeah, absolutely, good call. And Sean, I was a game show host, and that was going to be it. I had no ideas of going in any other direction. But Sean thought about this, and he said, I think maybe this might work for you. So it turned out they were looking for somebody. I think Rob Weller had just left and at ET. And so they called me in for an audition, and I did an audition with I think I just did an audition by myself, and then they brought me back to do another audition with Lisa Gibbons. And so we sat on the set together, and they gave me a travel coffee mug, plastic travel coffee mug with a little handle on it. And they said, talk about that. And so I had to just kind of wing it. And it felt like, oh my God, this is what Jonathan Winters does, not me. And but between Lisa and me and the coffee mug, we just got a thing going, and it showed some chemistry, and it showed that we could play off each other, and that we liked each other, and showed that I could think on my feet and that kind of thing. And that's how it happened. And they first hired me to be just a correspondent, and then they brought me in to anchor the weekend show. And then when John Tesh left, they bumped me up to the main seat, and I stayed there for 8 years. Yeah, it worked out. And that will, it's weird because I know when in my obituary it'll say former host of Entertainment Tonight, but I still think of myself as a game show host, and that's what I fill out on my taxes. So it was a weird kind of detour that now pretty much defines me.
Well, that sound you just heard means you know what time it is. It's time for the lightning round. Bob, you heard the sound, right? You heard that sound. It was
yeah, of course. My gosh.
Of course you did. We don't have post. This is all live, of course.
A lightning round.
The lightning round. This is so easy, Bob, because you're just talking about yourself. I'm going to name a show that you were involved with. All you have to do is tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. It could be a story. It could be an anecdote, a word. Doesn't matter. This is all you. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. The lightning round.
Here we go.
Starts right now. The home shopping game.
Oh, Bob Circosta, Budget Bob Circosta was the announcer, and he would always say the word value. That's what I remember.
How about the Hollywood game?
Oh, Hollywood game that was so much fun because I'm a trivia guy. I love Hollywood trivia, TV, movies, all that stuff. And then to be able to host a show about Hollywood trivia was the greatest thing, and it was just too expensive to do. The show was filled with clips from movies and TV shows, and those aren't cheap. And that's why the show was on in prime time on CBS rather than daytime, because daytime couldn't have afforded it. And that's also why it was canceled after 4 episodes.
I'm going to digress for a second. Was that also Bob Barker's dressing room?
Had to be. Yeah, it had to be. Yeah, because that was at CBS. Yeah.
All right. Next up, Beat the IRS.
Beat the IRS is, for those of you who haven't heard of Beat the IRS, you're blanching right now going, what the hell is he talking about? Beat the IRS was a pilot for a game show. Ray Horrell, the guy I was telling you about earlier, who called me in Palm Springs and started my career, I had this idea for a game show pilot, and the minute he pitched it to me, I said, there's not a chance in hell that show is going to work. And I knew it, but I had never done a game show, but I just knew this is a horrible idea. And so the only reason I did it was because I needed the experience, and I wanted to get up in front of a camera. And, I always tell anybody who's trying to get into this business, you get in front of a camera as much as you can, get in front of a microphone as much as you can. Every little bit is going to make you that much better. All I Beat the IRS was a chance for me to get some tape. That was it.
And we don't want to recommend to anybody to attempt to beat the IRS. Pay your
No, legally or illegally. Yeah.
How about your time on the Miss Universe pageant?
Oh God, those were great times. I did 9 pageants, 3 Miss Universe, 3 Miss USA, and 3 Miss Teen USA. And do you have time for a short story?
We have all the time you want.
Okay, all right. So my first, I think it was my first Miss Universe, was in Manila in the Philippines. And I don't sleep well on airplanes. So I went to my doctor and I said, I need some pharmaceutical to help me sleep, because it's like a 14-hour flight from here to Manila, and I've got to be sharp when I get there. And so he gave me a prescription to Ambien, and he said, take one. He said, take one on the tarmac, and I guarantee you'll be asleep in 45 minutes. But if for some extraordinary reason you don't fall asleep, take 2, and I promise you, job will be done. Okay. So I take the one on the tarmac, up in the air, nothing. I'm not even drowsy. And I said, okay. He said, take 2. I'm taking 2. So under the haze of the first Ambien, I take 2 more. So now I've had 3 Ambien.
Oh,
yeah. So I put on the eye mask, with the rubber thing, and earplugs. And I put my
story. You don't even know what happened. It's already the funniest story that we've ever had on Host at Home. Continue.
Okay. So I lean my head against the window and I pass out. And I slept through 3 meals. I slept through refueling in Hawaii. And when we landed in Manila, the flight attendant had to come over and shake me and say, I've been out for 14 hours. she had to shake me and say, wake up, Mr. Goen, we're here. Okay. So I take the eye mask off, and I've got this permanent imprint of the rubber band in my head. I've got the size of a basketball, a puddle of drool on my shoulder.
Is there somebody sitting next to you?
That's the end of the story. So we get up, I grab my stuff, I walk up the jetway, and I thought I had died, because at the end of the jetway, there is this blinding light coming from the end of the jetway. And I walk out there, and there is a Filipino press conference waiting for me to talk about the pageant. And I'm this, and I drool, and the thing, and I cannot put a sentence together. I am shot. And so I fumble my way through this press conference. I get out as fast as I can, and I go back and I go to the hotel and just try to recover from this. Next day, we go for the first day of rehearsal, and I'm introduced to my cameraman, the guy who's on camera number one, who is my close-up through the entire show. It's the guy who was sitting next to me on the airplane, who thinks, he thinks he's got a drug addict on his hands.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so that's hardly a lightning round story, but that's what I think of from the pageant.
Man, please tell me there's video of this press conference somewhere.
Oh God, there must be in the Philippines. There's got to be. I mean, it's probably classic at this point. Oh God.
Wow, I'm so glad that you probably never took 3 Ambien at one point ever again.
Oh my God, never going near that stuff.
My gosh. All right, well, we'll end on, because I mentioned earlier you were born lucky, so let's end talking about Born Lucky.
Born Lucky was, for those of you who've never seen Born Lucky, it was done in a mall, in a shopping mall.
I'm Bob Goen. These people came to the mall today thinking that they were just going to do a little shopping, but I've got a feeling some of them were born lucky, and one of them is going to have a chance to win up to $2,000 in cash. Let's find somebody.
Literally shot in the, where Santa is the rest of the year, right? It's a big, they'd find a big open area in the shopping mall, and they would rope it off, and we would find, from the shoppers, 75 or 80 people who wanted to play on the game show. And it was kind of a stunt show, kind of a beat the clock-ish sort of thing. And so the beginning of the show is, but first of all, they whip these people into a frenzy, trying to get this energy up, right? And so they're, before the show starts taping, they're dancing to YMCA, and they're screaming and yelling, getting them all pumped up. Then they put them in this corral, and okay, I come out and I say, "Who's born lucky?
Who wants to play? How about you? Right back there. Come on up here."
And as I'm trying to find contestants, and I'm weaving in and out of this group of 75 or 80 people, and they're all, "I'm lucky, I'm lucky." And so it's like 75 sets of sweaty armpits that I am running through trying to find contestants, and it was grim. That launched the show. Once we got the show going, everything kind of calmed down, and it was still high energy, but it was I'll never forget that opening as long as I live.
Well, Bob, this has been such a blast chatting with you. Did you have fun?
I love this. I'm not leaving.
We could talk for another 5 hours.
No, I got nothing to do. I got no job to go to. I'm just staying right here.
Well, you can stay right there and watch other episodes of Host at Home with people like Bob Goen, Chuck Wooler, Ivana White, Meredith Vieira, Matt Eisman from American Ninja Warrior. They're all here on this channel. If you like what you see, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. This has been another episode of Hosts at Home. My name is Adam Wurtzel. As you know, I don't close the show. This man, not on 3 Ambiens today, Bob Goen on no Ambiens. Over to you.
I'm not closing the show, Adam. I'm staying. I am staying right here. I hope you got a lot of videotape, because I'm not going anywhere.
I have the Zoom Pro account, so I can keep rolling. I can keep rolling. What are you up to for dinner?
Oh, yes. Well, you brought the potato chips, so I figured you were in charge of snacks. Yeah.
I'm going out and getting some tacos.
Good idea. Thanks, man.